Discourse 1 through 3, Germain speaking. Invocation. Thou infinite mighty presence, thou all-pervading principle of life, we give praise and thanks for thy wondrous activity through all outer presence. Out of thy mighty essence comes all that is, and oh, that humanity might understand thou art ever and forever self-sustained. Mighty presence of God in action, surge forth in the minds of all, expressing thy conquering presence. Thou infinite all-pervading presence, thou mighty master within each human form, we acknowledge and accept thy full presence manifest within these forms. We give forth our gratitude to thee that at last we have become aware of this mighty presence to whom we can turn and recognize the fullness of God's activity, the I am of all things. We give praise and thanks that we have become conscious of thy mighty active presence at all times, and that in the conscious recognition of thee, thou charges our minds and bodies with thy pure presence forever. Discourse. Life, in all its activities everywhere manifest, is God in action. And it is only through lack of the understanding of applied thought and feeling that mankind is constantly interrupting the pure flow of that perfect essence of life, which would, without interference, naturally express its perfection everywhere. The natural tendency of life is love, peace, beauty, harmony, and abundance, for life cares not who uses it, but is constantly surging to pour more of its perfection into manifestation, always with that lifting process which is ever inherent within itself. I am is the activity of that life. When you say and feel I am, you release the spring of eternal everlasting life to flow on its way unmolested. In other words, you open wide the door to its natural flow. I am is the full activity of God. Having placed before you so often the truth of God in action, I wish you to understand its first expression in individualization. The first expression of every individual everywhere in the universe, either in spoken words, silent thought, or feeling, is I am, recognizing its own conquering divinity. Brand those words, I am, into your consciousness for constant use, that you could not be drawn off the recognition, acceptance, and use of that mighty, glorious presence of God which you are. If at any time anything less than perfection attempts to make an appearance in your experience, declare vehemently that it is not true, and that you accept only God, which is perfection in your life, everywhere manifest. Continually remind yourself, I live, move, and have my being and all outer expression in the full abundance of God made manifest every moment. In thus reminding yourself of this invincible, unconquerable presence, you keep the door open for its pure, invincible essence and intelligence to weave into outer expression that wondrous perfection. Say often, I do not take on conditions from anybody or anything about me but God, good, and I am always God commanded. What the mind accepts is that which the individual agrees with through his attention, by letting the two become one. When the mind accepts and agrees with a thing or condition, the individual decrees it into his world. Whatever you let the attention rest upon, you are agreeing with it and accepting, because through your attention, you have let the mind become one with it. The student must always rely on himself. He must always think, what can I do to intensify this activity from the hints given? Contemplating I am as anything and everything you wish to be is one of the mightiest means of loosening the inner God power, love, wisdom, and truth, and setting it into action in the outer expression. When you recognize and accept fully I am as the mighty presence of God in you, in action, you will have taken one of the greatest steps to liberation. Now mark you in the utterance of the truth that I am the open door which no man can shut. If you can but realize it, you have the key that allows you to step through the veil of flesh, carrying with you all consciousness that you have generated or accumulated, which is imperfect, and there transmute it, or in other words, raise it into that perfection into which you have stepped. Too much stress cannot be laid upon the importance of contemplating as often as possible the I am as the mighty active presence of God in you, in your home, in your world, in your experiences. Every breath you breathe is God in action in you. Your ability to express or send forth thought and feeling is God acting in you. Having free will, it is entirely up to you to qualify the energy sent forth in your thought and feeling and determine how it shall act for you. If one wants to receive the greatest benefit possible and the comprehension that will be absolute, certain freedom and liberation, listen with an entirely open mind with the consciousness that the I am, the active presence of God in you, is your certain ability to receive, accept, and apply without limit the instruction which is being given forth with an accompanying radiance which will enable you to comprehend these simple yet mighty assertions of truth to their greatest blessing and freedom. Because there is only one intelligence, one presence, one power that can act, and that is the presence of God acting in you. Your ability to lift your hand and the life flowing through the nervous system of your outer form is God in action in your body through your mind. Every move you make is God in action. Every thought in your mind is God's energy which enables you to think. All outer form and its attendant expression is but the experience of life by which each individual may learn, through his own experiences, the true source of his being, and come again into the fullness of perfection through the self-conscious knowing thus attained. The outer experience of life is but a constant, changing, passing picture that the outer mind has created in its pretense or its imagination of being the real actor. Thus is the attention so constantly fixed upon the outer, which alone contains imperfection, that the children of God have forgotten their own divinity and must come back to it again. God is the giver, the receiver, and the gift, and is the sole owner of all the intelligence, substance, energy, and abundance there is in the universe. For there is but one love acting, one intelligence, power, and substance, and that is God being and acting in every individual. There is positively abundant supply, omnipresent, but the demand for it must be made before the law of the universe permits it to come into the expression and use of the individual. The individual, having free will, must consciously, with full determination, make the demand, and it cannot fail to come forth into expression, no matter what it is, so long as the individual holds an unwavering, determined consciousness. This simple statement, used with sincere determination, I am the great abundance of God made visible in my use right now, continuously, will bring to the individual all he can possibly use. Once one becomes fully aware that every right desire or wish is God in action, propelling his energy forth to fulfill the accomplishment, and is always self-sustained, he would become aware of the limitless love, power, and intelligence he has with which to accomplish any given purpose. Thus they come into their full dominion as God intends. It was never intended by the great all-wise, all-loving Creator that any of its children should want for a single thing. This great abundance is their birthright, which everyone can who will again turn to the I am, the active principle of God forever within himself, as the only source of active life, intelligence, and abundance. Feel deeply this statement of Jesus: I am the resurrection and the life. Repeat it 3 times, either silently or audibly, and notice the lifting of consciousness which you will experience. There is only one means of overcoming or rising out of anything, and that is, after you know what it is you are to rise out of, to take your outer attention completely away from it, fixing it firmly upon the above statement. Any condition in the outer experience that one wishes to overcome can readily be accomplished by the use of this statement, as well as using it to change the flow of misdirected energy. The moment you express I am the resurrection and life in thought and feeling, it immediately turns all the energy of your being to the core of your being, the source of your being. You cannot overestimate the power of this statement. There is no limit to what you can do with it. It was the statement that Jesus used most often in his most difficult trials. One should often contemplate the true meaning of these mighty statements of Jesus when you once understand that your thought, feeling, and expression of I am sets the mighty God power in you into action without any limit. Then you receive that upon which the desire is fixed. Every one of these statements, when conscientiously used, holds within it the attendant radiance and accomplishment with which he attained. You not only have this power of the I am, but also the power of the examples demonstrated by Jesus. Truth in action. There is no possible means of bringing perfection into your mind, body, and outer experience except by knowing and accepting the mighty active presence of God in you. Such full recognition will cause this inner power to propel this perfection of God into your outer visible experience. The desire for light and truth is the presence of God in the desire, propelling itself forth into action. For illumination, use the statement, I am. The full comprehension and illumination of this thing I want to know and understand now. There being but the one God, the one presence, and its all-powerful activity, then the one more advanced than the other is but more of the God self in action. The day your eyes are open to see some of these marvelous ascended beings, the joy will last through eternity. When the students can once understand that the hosts of masters are but the more advanced consciousness of himself, then he will begin to feel the unquestionable possibilities within his grasp. To say, I am here in this body and I am there in this thing I wish to accomplish, is a splendid way to feel that you are using the one activity, and thus you rise above the consciousness of separation, for there is but the one God self everywhere. Whether one speaks to the Godhead direct, to one of the ascended masters of light, or to his own God self, in reality it makes no difference, for all are one. Realize that there can be but one presence, one intelligence, one power acting in your mind and body, and that is God. You see how simple yet powerful is this consciousness within you to loosen the full recognition of the great pure activity of God into your mind and body, and to let its wondrous transcendent essence fill full to overflowing every cell. Even physical science has given proof that the body or outer form completely renews itself within a few months. Then you must see that with the conscious understanding and application of the true laws of your being, how easy it is to cause perfection to manifest in your entire body, and with every organ to leap into its perfect, normal activity. In a short time, it would not be possible for inharmony to enter your thought or body. Again, I must remind you that this limited, mighty power of God cannot intrude its wondrous powers into your outer use except by your invitation. There is only one kind of invitation that can cause it and loosen it, and reach in, and that is your feeling of deep devotion and love. The soul who is strong enough to clothe itself in its armor of divine love and go forward will find no obstruction. The presence which beats each heart is God in action. The activity sending the circulation through the body is God in action. And the essence charging forward to vitalize the outer form is God in action. Such is the love and freedom within each of God's children, and they are privileged to act upon it. There is only one mighty, invincible, evolving process, and that is through the power of consciously generating divine love. Love being the hub of all life. The more we enter in and use it consciously, the more easily and quickly we release this mighty power of God, which is always standing as a dammed up force waiting to find an opening in our consciousness by which it can project itself. It seems to me, beloved students, that you cannot fail to grasp the simplicity of your true God self acting in you. Ever turn to it, praising it, loving it, demanding and commanding it to surge forth into every cell of your body. When your desire is sent forth clothed in the God presence, power, and intelligence, it cannot fail. It must bring to you that which you desire. Desire is but a lesser activity of decreeing. Decreeing is and should be the recognition of the accomplished desire. O children reaching to the light, this great privilege is the open door of God before you, which none may shut but yourselves. None may obstruct or interfere with it but yourselves. Fearlessly use your God-given dominion and power and be free. You cannot attain and hold this perfect freedom except through consciously applied knowledge. He who makes his outer expression and activity a channel for the ceaseless outpouring of the pure essence from the Godhead will at last have attained the true victory and freedom of your God-given dominion. Benediction. We give praise and thanks that we have the full strength to accept only thy mighty active presence at all times, and to refuse acceptance of anything unlike thee. Thou mighty, majestic, conquering I am. We give forth our praise and gratitude for our comprehension of thee as God acting in us, and with thy mighty presence and radiance cause us to feel the mighty import of thy mighty truth and wondrous presence. When we contemplate thee, let thy mighty radiance fill us with that comprehending consciousness to know and apply thy assertions of truth more and more perfectly. And so it is.